Welcome to worship in the Unitarian Universalist Church of Charlotte. One evening in the Baptist church of my boyhood, we hosted a choir made up of prisoners from a nearby correctional facility. Why is it that decades later I can still recall how listening to their music fostered feelings I'd never felt before? Weighty, poignant, beautiful, melancholic, and strangely seductive. They sang, it was the first time I had ever heard it, they sang, "Will the circle be unbroken?" Sitting there hearing these broken men plaintively wondering, will the circle be unbroken by and by, Lord, by and by? Will the circle be unbroken in the sky, Lord, in the sky? Something broke in me, and paradoxically, something was mended. A few years later, I was thrilled to find that song on a Greg Allman record I bought. And then I heard those stunning nitty-gritty dirt band all-star recordings of it, and then the Neville Brothers. I love that song. And now that Greg Allman and Papa Funk Art Neville and Johnny Cash and Levon Helm and Dr. John and so many who sang it are with the ancestors, it's an even more poignant musical experience. We here don't spend much of our collective time wondering about how things are in the sky, in some sweet by and by. Whether or not circles will be whole there, this much we know down here where, as Miller and Lucinda Williams say, where the spirit meets the bone. There are no unbroken circles. There are no unbroken people. We are all broken. And we have all, at times, broken. Broken promises, broken relationships, broken bonds, broken those we love the most. That is the truth that lies behind the Jewish observance of Yom Kippur. It's a way of beginning a new year in reflection, introspection, in self-scrutiny and self-assessment. It's a way of imagining that it is possible to mend what has been broken. It is in that spirit that we gather again today, to reflect again on what we hold most dear. As we prepare to sing, you don't want to be the one to break the silence, so please make sure your phone is silenced instead. Then, with compassion, greet one another.
and you could have it all, my empire dirt. I will let you down. I will make you hurt. I wear this crown of thorns upon my liar's chair, full of broken thoughts I cannot repair. A reading from the book Just Mercy by Bryan Stevenson. When Jay asked me to be a part of this service, I had never heard of this book. I've downloaded it and have been listening to it for the past week as I drive to and from work, and I am currently obsessed. I highly recommend it. My years of struggling against inequality, abusive power, poverty, oppression, and injustice had finally revealed something to me about myself. Being close to suffering, death, executions, and cruel punishments didn't just illuminate the brokenness of others in a moment of anguish and heartbreak, it also exposed my own brokenness. You can't effectively fight abusive power, poverty, inequality, illness, oppression, or injustice and not be broken by it. We are all broken by something. We have all hurt someone, and we have all been hurt. We all share the condition of brokenness, even if our brokenness is not equivalent. I guess I'd always known, but never fully considered, that being broken is what makes us human. We all have our reasons. Sometimes we're fractured by the choices that we make. Sometimes we're shattered by things we would have never chosen. But our brokenness is also the source of our common humanity, the basis for our shared search for comfort, meaning, and healing. Our shared vulnerability and imperfection nurtures and sustains our capacity for compassion.
As the attendees of our 11:15 service, I'm almost certain that you felt the palpable difference when you entered this room, and maybe now you understand that it is because for this entire weekend, we have been the beneficiaries of the renowned voice and the renowned presence and the renowned energy of Stephanie Ann Ball. Thank you so much for being with us. Friday evening was one of the truly remarkable times in this room, and what you and John and Michael, Amy, Sarah brought to us will live long in our hearts and with deep gratitude. Thank you. If you want to experience the full life of this congregation, it is beyond these walls. There are ways to get involved, just a few of which are listed in your order, more of which you'll find on our website and in our electronic newsletter, Currents. I do remind you that following this service, our youth, their parents, and anyone else who would like will be involved in Operation Sandwich. Our love always extends beyond this room to places around the globe that are in pain and, in fact, for our planet itself. And our love draws close to those we know best, who we consider ones of us. We hold with love and in our prayers on this day Becky Whittington as she continues in recovery from a recent hospitalization. And we hold tenderly Kathy Allen and Beth Mousset as Kathy's mom, Beth's grandmother, is now under the care of hospice. We're mindful on this day of those who long to be in this room and who are no longer able to be with us. And we extend our love to them, ones who are still very much a part of us.
Welcome. We're happy that you're with us today in this room or joining us remotely. We're pleased to have guests with us. Our members would like to greet you personally following the service. So if you're visiting, please raise your hand and keep it up. Members, please take note of guests seated near you. After the service, invite them to join you for coffee and conversation in Freeman Hall. Should it enhance your experience of future services, we offer large print orders of service, personal hearing assistance devices, and have an elevator available as well. If you'd like to learn more about us, please fill out a yellow card and place it in an offering basket later in the service. Members with a life event to share can do so on the reverse side of that card. The cards and offering envelopes are on the clipboards at the ends of your row. Please begin passing them now. Visitors interested in hearing more about how to become a member can talk with our membership coordinator, Kelly Green. Her contact information is on the back of your order of service. Again, to each of you, welcome. Last year for my birthday, amongst my generous gifts was an ancestry DNA test. As an adopted child, I have always been curious about the people who created me and their life stories. I was grateful, but uncertain about taking it as it could open a whole number of questions I was not 100% sure I was prepared to deal with. I took the test, sent it off to the lab, and kind of forgot about it. Shortly after Thanksgiving, my results came back, and it turns out I have some unknown family out there. After some time and consideration, I reached out to the connections Ancestry came back with, explaining who I was, a bit of my story, and how I thought that we might be related. My first few contacts were to a distant cousin and an aunt, and they were met with joy and excitement. That after all this time, a new family member was found. I was hopeful, albeit naive, and reached out to my biological father. I was met with hate and accused of things I would never in a million years consider myself. I was hurt. I was so confused that there wasn't a level of curiosity or genuine interest in the possibility of him having a child. This reaction opened wounds I thought were healed, but just caused new pain. And when I shared this information with my newfound aunt and cousin, they were not surprised by his reaction and explained that he often reacted this way when he was hurt or felt challenged. I was angry, I was sad, and I was incredibly disappointed. To be fair, he may not have known of my existence. From what I have gathered, he had a brief relationship with the woman who gave me life and is not listed on my birth certificate. My reaching out via mail and once on a phone call did not go as I had hoped. I had 40 years to build up to my fairy tale reunion. He had a letter and a phone call, about 10 seconds in the span of a lifetime. My cousin and aunt have been lovely and open to starting a relationship. We email occasionally and have made our relationship Facebook official, indicating that we want to be in one another's lives. I am thankful for their response and the tentative steps we have made to get to know one another over this past year. My hope and my fear is that one day this man and I can find a place of acceptance and meet one another in a place of compassion. This community and our faith and our shared experience, while slightly different for each one of us, has taught me to see the hope, embrace the fear, and be open to all that life brings. Thank you.
I didn't know that the war was still inside you. It's a line early in the exquisite new novel On Earth, We're Briefly Gorgeous by the young Vietnamese American writer and, as of this week, MacArthur Genius Grant recipient Ocean Vuong. His autobiographical novel in the form of a letter, Dear Ma, is a heartrending account of the pain that links 3 generations of immigrants, escapees from the ravages of Vietnam. Told with graphic, poetic mastery, it is filled with such brokenness, with those who are so broken, with those who externalize their inner pain by breaking others. Trying to understand why his mother is so frightened and so frail and so furiously angry that she physically abuses her tender young son, he unpacks his bewilderment, admitting, I didn't know that the war was still inside you, that there was a war to begin with, that once it enters you, it never leaves, but merely echoes. His is the inheritance of generational pain, brought about at least in part by a literal war that shattered their homeland and their lives along with it. As a theme song for Vuong's novel, what better choice than that raw Miller Williams poem set to raw music by his daughter Lucinda Williams. Have compassion for everyone you meet, even if they don't want it. What seems conceit, bad manners, or cynicism is always a sign of things no ears have heard, no eyes have seen. You do not know what wars are going on down there where the spirit meets the bone. And who of us is not in some way both a victim and a veteran of these kinds of wars? Anguish, enmity, anxiety, insecurity within. I learned that gradually from my beloved mentor of blessed memory. So shimmeringly brilliant, so powerful and gifted, and so voluminously gregarious, and often so compassionate with those who were the casualties of their own internal wars, masking his brokenness behind intellect and idealism, behind voracious curiosity, behind relentless faith-filled commitment. But he was broken. I would learn, perhaps too late. And in some ways, he never noticed, and in others, he was forced to face. He broke others, seemingly never out of malice, often, however, out of insensitivity or obliviousness. He was my mentor. I loved him. I learned from him. I wanted to be him. Some days I wonder, has too much of my wish come true? Brokenness is a part of all of our stories. Broken bones and broken homes, broken hearts and broken dreams, broken promises and broken spirits, broken down and broken up. The formidable warrior for justice, Bryan Stevenson, seems an unlikely source for this kind of deeply personal admission. And yet he says it, reminding us again that there is no definable gap between commitment to justice and concern for spirituality. We are all broken by something. He tells that deep, ubiquitous truth. We are all broken by something. Then he goes even deeper. We have all hurt someone, and we have all been hurt. I have hurt people, and I have been hurt. You have hurt people, and you have been hurt. We have hurt people, and we have been hurt. We all share the condition of brokenness, Stevenson writes, even if our brokenness is not equivalent. Our capacities to cause pain aren't equal, but we all cause pain. Our experiences of pain aren't equal either, but can we just admit it today? Everyone in this room is in some kind of pain. Now, I must hasten to add this deep awareness must never offer an excuse for abuse. Abuse, whether verbal, in writing, or physical, cannot be excused by the claim that we have all been hurt. Abuse is never okay and should never be tolerated. Please do not hear me suggesting otherwise today. The centuries-old Japanese art of kintsugi reflects literally the joining of two words. Kin, golden, and sugi, joinery. As you are seeing today, kintsugi offers a curious premise. A vessel, a bowl, or cup that is broken should not be mended in a way that attempts to hide the cracks, but that aspires to highlight them. Gold dust is blended in with the adhesive, and the fissures shimmer. They stand out. They declare boldly, this is where the break was. Artisans of kintsugi imagine that a vessel broken and then repaired is more beautiful even than a vessel that remains whole. Bryan Stevenson believes that about us. There, in his gripping account of the courageous work he does in the deepest bowels of our nation's prison industrial complex, there, amidst the tales of infuriating injustice, Bryan Stevenson comes to a spiritual understanding. Our shared vulnerability and imperfection nurtures and sustains our capacity for compassion. In the spirit of Yom Kippur, might it be the case that our awareness that we have hurt others and need their forgiveness is what creates our ability to extend forgiveness to those who have hurt us. Our brokenness, Bryan Stevenson says it, our brokenness is also the source of our common humanity. I have hurt you, and you have hurt me. Perhaps it is that simple. Perhaps it really is when we can say that, when we can admit that, when we can confess that, that we are then finally able both to experience and to extend forgiveness. My colleague and my friend Victoria Safford writes, imagine this. On the days between Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, every year, every fall, the people make their peace with anyone they have wronged or slighted or injured in any way, neglected in the past 12 months. The task is not to patch things up, smooth things over, reach a compromise, or sweep mistakes or uneasy memories under the rug. The task is not to feel better. The task is ownership. The goal is truth for all of its redemptive sake. I did this. I said this, and it was wrong. I neglected this. I botched this. I betrayed you thusly. I demeaned you, whether you ever knew it or not. This is the truth in which both of us are living. I ask you to forgive me. Imagine, Victoria writes, how many deep breaths you would have to take. Imagine how many doors you'd have to knock on, how many phone calls you'd have to make, how many letters, how many lunches and coffees, how many awkward moments with your children and your parents and with strangers, that cashier to whom you spoke sharply. Awkward is irrelevant. The task is not about comfort. It is about truth, about wholeness and holiness, restoration. Imagine this, she continues, someone has been preparing all year to speak to you, to write to you, to ask you a hard question. Perhaps in some way not quite conscious, you've even known this and you've been preparing too. Finally, you answer the door or the phone or open the letter with shaky hands, and there it is. What you thought you'd been longing for but really have dreaded, someone is asking for your forgiveness. The task is not about comfort. It is about truth. Awkward is irrelevant. You get to choose now. You have to choose whether and how you will participate in restoration. Abandon the pleasant piety that claims knee-jerk forgiveness as the unquestioned moral course. You get to choose which way will be right in this case, between you as persons and with all of your gods. What response will make the world more whole? Imagine something yearns in us to come round right. Something creaky, rusty, heavy, almost calcified within us tries, in spite of us and all our fears and self-deceptions, to turn and creak and turn again and come round a little truer. Something in us stretches towards conversion. Imagine healing, holy, from within. I invite you to settle more deeply into your seat. To close your eyes. To slow and deepen your breathing. To release the tension in your face, in your body. In the depths of this silence, I invite you to take inventory, personal, spiritual inventory. Who have you hurt? From whom do you need to ask for forgiveness? How will you do that? How will you ask for forgiveness? Who has hurt you? Who, intentionally or not, has hurt you? Who, living or dead, present or absent, needs your forgiveness? How will you respond? How might you find your way to forgiveness? I invite you now to return to this time and place as we sing together.
Beneath the stains of time, the feelings disappear. You are someone else, and I am still right here. What I have become, my sweetest friend, everyone I know goes away in the end, and you could have it all, my empire of dirt. I will let you down. I will make you hurt. We will now give and receive the offering. please join me in an affirmation of our faith, rising in body and/or spirit. May we know once again
Please be seated. I'm Eve Stevens, one of the ministers of this congregation, and I want to offer a blessing to my beloved colleague, Jay Leach. As you may have heard and read recently, this is Jay's last Sunday before he begins a 2-month sabbatical. Jay, would you join me up here in the pulpit? I am grateful for all the ways you pour yourself into our shared ministry, and grateful now that you turn your attention to rest and replenishment. If I know you, beginning no doubt at midnight tomorrow night, may you find it's possible to set down the whirling rush of demands that have occupied your mind and spirit for so long. Fill these coming days with the company of loved ones and find your spirit renewed by the adventures and laughter you share. May you trust this Sabbath and lean into it. By resting and nurturing your body and mind, know that you are planting seeds of creativity and resilience that will take root and grow for many months to come. Be well and revel in this season of rest. I look forward to again sharing in this ministry when you return.
So Eve, you are the colleague for whom I waited, the one I wanted, the one I longed for. With your gifts, your approach, your demeanor, you balance and expand what I alone could offer here, just as we had hoped and planned. What a welcomed gift you have been to me and to us. As I accept your blessing with deep gratitude, as I thank you for the sensitivity that thought to mark this time away with intention, so too I extend to you my blessing. As you assume the whole mantle of this ministry in my absence, may you do so with boldness, with clarity, with conviction, and with a spirit buoyant with compassion. May you feel the prayer-filled support of this, our shared congregation. May you be held in the prayers of this place. May you know that you are the very one to whom we will now look for leadership, and know that you have a team of brilliant colleagues and a congregation of generous support. In these days, dear Eve, walk with faith, run with confidence, mount up with wings, soar with joy. And now, beloved colleague, let us bless this congregation together.
May the road rise to meet you.
May the wind be at your back.
May the sun shine warm upon you.
And may, oh dear God, may someday soon bring cooling breezes too.
May the rain fall soft upon your face.
And until we meet again, may we all be held in the gentle hands of love.
When we walk, when we sleep, when we rise, we are one. when we laugh, when we sing, when we cry, when we run, we are one, and we shall love one another with all our hearts, and we shall care for each other with all our soul and our might. When we stand, when we fall, when we rise, we are one. In the cold, in the heat, in the dark, in the sun, we are one, and we shall love one another with all our hearts, and we shall care for each other with all our soul and our might. When we're hurting one another,